Okay, here are my thoughts on the whole outcome of today's trial. Um, I hope, I hope that there are no riots, looting, destroying a property. I hope there's no violence. I hope there's no fighting. I hope Antifa keeps their ass at the house where they belong. Um, Justice was served um, by the justice system. I'm not. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not I don't have a side in this. But justice was served for those families and people involved that were in the court, and for a lot of other people that feel that they are discriminated against by the police department. But I'll also say this. I'll also say that I think this is going to have an effect. I won't say a negative, but I'll think this will have an effect on all existing police officers. And I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, because there's a lot of good police officers out there. There's a lot of good people that have the desire and the will to be a good cop, to serve their community, to do their part, to serve justice, law and order. They want to help people. But I think this will make a lot of people think about their career currently as a police officer, or think about their career going into a police officer position. Because unless you're sitting behind the desk, or unless you work in a city, town, county, community where there's very little crime, very little low income, very little drug abuse, very little homelessness, shootings, robberies, I think that you're in a good position. It's just my opinion. I think when you are in an area where it's big city, crime, drugs, prostitution, violence, domestic, family, robberies, homicides, kidnapping, you name it. And then on top of that, you still got to deal with a bunch of shitheads out there that you pull over that have a bad attitude because they hate the police. They hate dealing with the police. They have this idea that all police officers are bad. And you have to put up with people's attitude, and then you have to put up with people filming you, which, if people would act right, people wouldn't have to feel the need to flip on social media and be like, because you're on news 24/7 now. Everybody has access. Everybody can post something on the social platforms. That's a lot of pressure for someone to be in a position as a police officer. I'm not making excuses for any bad police officer. If you're bad, you need to get the hell out of that and go find something else to do that will calm your nerves, that you can make a good impact. I had a friend, a close friend of mine, who worked at the jail in the city, and encountered a lot of people. He said, people that were drunk, not cooperative, bowled up to him, giving him lip, giving him attitude. People that didn't want to cooperate for whatever effing reason. They just didn't want to cooperate, and he had to get physical with them. And he's a physical kind of guy. He enjoys. All right, let's go. It's just his thing. He enjoyed it as far as the physical contact. Not that he enjoyed the physical fighting because he wanted to punch somebody in the face. Just he enjoyed that. He was that kind of guy, like, rough and tough, wrestle, let's go. I mean, that's just, and there's a job and need for that kind of mentality. The guy was in the military. There are stuff out there. There's stuff in the world. There's duties. There's things that people have to do that a lot of people don't want to do. Not everybody wants to run into a building and be a firefighter. That takes a unique kind of person. Not everybody wants to work as an EMS operator or work in the hospital or be a doctor because they don't like blood. They don't want to see exposures of bones. They don't want to have to open somebody's cavity chest and operate on them. That's not a job that everybody is suited for. There's some people that don't want to be caretakers because they can't stand to be around old people because it's depressing, or work for a funeral home. My point is, there's a job out there for everybody, and there's a job that needs to be filled by certain individuals. That said, it doesn't mean that those positions need to be filled by shitheads and scumbags and people that don't need to be in those positions. Because you have to have some humanity when you're doing any kind of position that involves other people. It's called public service. You serve the community, right? But if I was a police officer, I can tell you this: I would consider and talk to my wife or a partner or whatever, man or woman, and I'd be like, honey, this is just not worth it. I'm a good guy, but if I make the wrong move and I'm in the heat of the moment and this person has escalated it, and now I gotta get physical, and I happen to use a technique that breaks their neck, breaks their arm because they're fighting and resisting, and then they turn around and want to sue me, or I end up going to court and having to go to jail. That's my life. That's my career. It's done. I'm done. You're tainted. That's on your criminal history. It's going to be a hard time to recover from that, all because you were trying to do your job. Now, there are some people that take it to the extreme, and they don't need to be police officers. So this should be a wake-up call for all police officers. If you're a bad police officer, you need to get the hell out of there before you end up like that. If you're a good police officer, you need to really question whether or not you want to stay in that field. And my biggest fear is police officers hesitating and the moment. Is this the right call? Do I pull out my firearm? This guy's pointing a gun at me. This guy has a knife, he's threatening me. This guy's bigger than me. There's a robbery going on. In fact, let me use my words. Please put down your weapons. Please put back the money. Please take that knife out of that person's neck. How far do you think that's going to work? Sometimes you have to meet force with force, meaning you have to meet violence with violence. It's not a job for everybody. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a badass and I would be cutting throats and shooting people and taking them out. I'm not saying that. It takes a unique person. It takes a real fine balance of being able to be that aggressive, but also to be conscious. You think about people that you know that just, they black out when they get into the heat of the moment and they start fighting someone, and then they don't even know, and they're just wailing on that person. And there's people saying, stop, you're gonna kill, and they're in the zone so much they can't see from right or wrong. You think about that. You're a good guy and you're in the heat of the moment. My fear, guys, is that there's going to be a lot of people second guessing whether or not they want to stay a police officer or whether they even want to go into that field. And the thing is, I'm going to wrap this up. Who do you think people call when they're in stress, when they're being broken into, they're being attacked, they're being raped, there's a crime going on, even within their own family? And it's like, they don't want to call the cops in their family, but it comes to that. And the cops show up and they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to get involved because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want you turning around and saying, you called me to help you, and now I'm over here being aggressive to this person that you know, love, or that's family member, and now you're mad at me because I've used force on them when you clearly called us because you're being attacked. And the problem is, guys, is that how many of those videos that we see on YouTube or social media where you see the cop being aggressive, but you don't see the beginning of what escalated to that. And I'll say this again. You don't want to know why I haven't been tased or shot at or thrown to the ground or handcuffed? Because I follow the law. It's that easy. How many of these people say they fight, they argue, they're confrontational, they're resisting? Have a good day, guys.